and welcome to this session on using digital tools to build community. Relationship and friendship is so important. It's how God designed us to live with one another. As we look to using digital tools to strengthen and build community, we have so many exciting and interesting options available to us. In the book Ministry in the Digital Age, it says, the powerful ability to connect people as never before should draw us, as followers of Christ, to the internet. It is not about the latest gadget, it is about relationships. That is what makes these digital technologies so powerful in ministry. People are online, they're on their phones, laptop, watches, and if people are online, we should be there too. These aren't virtual relationships with virtual people. They are real people with real life experiences, embracing the online world to express them. Now, before we jump into hearing three special guests hearing their experiences of using digital tools, here are 10 quick ideas for you to write down in how you can use digital tools to build community. So first up, Facebook groups. Facebook groups are a great opportunity for your church to come together online in a closed space to engage with fellowship and community. Why not set one up for your church if you don't have one already? People can post prayer requests, encouragements, praise reports, testimonies. It's a way to strengthen and build your community midweek. And of course, so many people have Facebook, so it's a great way to engage people online in community. Next up, why not use WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger groups for Sunday discussion groups? So you could set up these groups for your church as like online life groups, where groups of people can come together online to unpack and discuss the Sunday message. For example, people could say what impacted them the most, what challenged them the most, which areas do they need prayer, which areas do they need support as they reflect on the topics of that Sunday. Thirdly, why not use a hashtag for your Sunday sermon series? What is a hashtag? Well, it's an opportunity to group conversations together around a certain heading. It's readily used on Twitter, but also increasingly on Facebook. So how can it be used? Well, you might have Easter coming up and you might have the Sunday sermon series called Hope is Alive. You can encourage your church to post quotes from the sermon online on Twitter and Facebook, but also reflections, encouragement. How has the message impacted them? Next up, Facebook Live. Now, if you are used to using Facebook, you've probably seen many Facebook Live broadcasts on your timeline. Indeed, during lockdown, churches have embraced Facebook Live to broadcast online. Well, you too can create broadcasts midweek. For example, on a Wednesday, you could have a midweek broadcast from your pastor who can share on the Sunday message, perhaps give a summary of what he talked about, but also take questions. Number 5, Spotify. What a great opportunity to hear what your church are listening to for their worship songs and to create an open Spotify playlist. There's an opportunity where people can share worship songs that they love and recommend great songs for others to listen to as well. Count it as an opportunity as a church jukebox, an opportunity to hear what your church are listening to and how God is speaking to them at the moment. Give it a try and see how it works for your church. Number 6, create a praise hour on Facebook Messenger. Now, I've got an experience of this from an experiment that we did as a church. From 10 a.m. until 11 a.m. on a Saturday morning, we had a Facebook Messenger group that a large group of us were on. And for that whole hour, we shared praise reports. Praise reports of God doing great things in our church community. You too could set up a similar Facebook Messenger group for your church, where you say, the doors are open, share what God is doing. And as you can see from this screen grab, we have witnessed so many extraordinary testimonies of God doing incredible things in people's lives. Next up, use your Facebook page to offer prayer. Prayer is an opportunity for the community to come together, stand with one another for breakthrough and for God's hand on our community. You could offer it on your Facebook page. As you can see from the screen grab here from Saddleback in the USA, offering prayer on a Facebook page is a great opportunity for your community to come together, to open up, and to also inspire one another and to help one another through the struggles they might be facing. Final couple of ideas then, and for number 8, why not use your Facebook page for people to discuss and unpack biblical truths? For example, in this example from the USA, this church asked very simply, why do you pray? And the amount of people which discussed that very question, saying why they prayed, why it made a difference to their life, and it was a great opportunity for the church community to come together and to be inspired. What a great testimony, a great example of how God is working in people's lives. Number 9, and as well as text-based updates, of course, you can post video. Why not post a short video clip from your Sunday sermon on social media and encourage people to open up and say how the message impacted them? It's a great opportunity for the community to come together, to be reminded of what the Sunday sermon was all about. And of course, on social media, people can share that clip with their friends, with their family. It's a great opportunity for digital evangelism, very simply at a click of a button. And number 10, very finally, and this is a fun little idea, is whether you run a church photo competition on social media. Of course, many people have smartphones and they're really great high quality photos from many phones nowadays. For example, at Easter, how you can run this practically, you could say to your church, why not take a photo of what hope is alive means to you? You could ask your church to post that photo on social media, and as someone looks on their Facebook feed, they will see a tapestry of different photos from the church community and how God is speaking to the church family about what it means that hope is alive. So that's some really great ideas there of how you can use social media and some digital tools there to build and strengthen and disciple your community. But now we're going to hear from a couple of pastors who are going to share how they have been using some really interesting digital tools in their context. So let's hear from them now and let's take loads of notes because they're going to say some really great stuff. Let's have a look.
So my name is Mark Pugh. I'm the lead pastor of Rediscover Church, which is in Exeter in the glorious region of Devon. You know, one of the perennial problems we have in church is the statistics of the number of people in our congregations who read the Bible is really quite scary. In fact, for some people, not attending on a Sunday means that the only time they ever were reading the Bible was when someone else was reading it, and they're not even doing that any longer. So YouVersion's online Bible, either on web portal or on an app, on your smartphones or your tablets, and it's got wonderful access to free information, free study plans. And we've used that for a while. But the thing that we've not really used was that you can do reading plans in communities. And so the last 10 months, we make sure that there's always at least one reading plan that we're involved in and advertising out to the church community. And it's just been wonderful just to see people doing this together. So once they sign up, we start on a certain day, and then they do it at their own time and convenience during that day. And at the end of the reading of that day, they're able to contribute some comments or some observations or even ask questions, and everyone can see each other's comments or questions or ideas, and it's a really enriching way of coming around the Bible together. I think Bible reading has gone up among our congregation significantly in the last 10 months, and that really excites me. We don't write the plans. You can do, and you can submit them onto YouVersion, but there's so many great reading plans already there, and they vary from short plans to 2-3 days right through to year long. And so what we do is we have a mix of those plans. Sometimes they're 3 days, sometimes they're 5 days, sometimes they're at the moment we started one today, 31 days through the book of Proverbs, a chapter a day. And we are seeing probably most reading plans we do now, over 100 people sign up to each one, and the engagement levels, and it's just brilliant to see people reading the Bible, and I know it's changing lives. They say that God's word is the single biggest component to making disciples in our lives. And, thank God for preaching, thank God for Bible teaching, but we have them in our hands, in our pockets, in our homes. So if we can get people engaging with it, this is what transforms us, the living word of God alive in our hearts, and then working it out in community, discussing it together, exploring, repenting sometimes in community. It's just been amazing. And so this is here to stay for us now. This is not just for lockdown. This is something that's an integral part of our ministry, our disciple making plan. People see things differently, don't they? That's why when there's an incident that happens, maybe a road traffic accident, they ask for different people's opinions and thoughts and observations because people see things differently. And so, one of the reading plans I'm doing right now is through the Bible in just under a year. And there's a number of Elim pastors on that, and we're doing it together. And it's just been brilliant just to get the insights of other people. And it's just been a joy to see. And the wonderful thing is that on YouVersion, there are a load of translation versions. You can choose to read it in the version that works best for you. It's even audible. So, some of our congregation, when we're not in lockdown and they've got commutes to work, they can listen to the reading that day on the way into work. And so it's really flexible. I think particularly for those who struggle reading, people who struggle with dyslexia and other sort of things that make reading quite troublesome for them, to have it on audio version and still be able to participate in the church activity has just been brilliant.
But secondly, you've been doing something really interesting with live broadcasts, I believe in the morning and evening. Tell me about it and what experiments have you been up to?
So when I looked at the beginning of lockdown at the Book of Acts, I saw that they met daily, and I thought, well, we can't even meet weekly at the moment, but I just wonder whether technology will allow us to meet daily. So on the back of that, we just tried a 1-week experiment of taking communion together every day online. And that worked so well and gained so much momentum that we increased that. We've now been taking communion 5 days a week, not including Sundays, where we also often take communion. But we've been doing that now for over 10 months. And it's really transformed people's lives. And then we added something else preceding communion called Die Daily, which is 5 minutes where we center around being filled with the Holy Spirit. Die stands for desiring the spiritual gifts, being filled with the Spirit, and edifying ourselves by speaking in tongues. And we just play some music for 3.5 minutes after we've done an exhortation, and we speak in tongues together. Or we say, if you've not been filled with the Holy Spirit, you don't speak in tongues, invite the Spirit to fill you now. And so we do that 5 minutes at 7:20 in the morning, and then at 7:25, someone else comes on live and leads in communion. And then we repeat communion in the evening, again live, someone else presenting it at 7:25 in the evening. And it's just been amazing to watch the momentum, and it's created a rhythm that we're meeting together daily around the cross, around the finished work of Christ. And again, for discipleship, it's really making a difference in people's lives.
to come together and start the day focusing on Jesus. That must be so powerful, so powerful.
It is, even just in the comment section, people say, good morning, church, and see all these comment threads coming out, morning, church, and some people give an exhortation, and it really feels like we belong. We're in community, and, why go back to doing that just once a week? We can do it daily. I really believe technology has given us not just a way to fill in the gap. There's no going back to what was. I believe the days are very different now, but we're not doing this to fill in a gap. We're doing this to advance our mandate to make disciples, to get the gospel out there. And this is a wonderful moment for the church to embrace some new tools to enable us to do things that we could not do without them.
My name is Carl, and I'm the senior minister at Letchworth Garden City Church, based in Hertfordshire, about 30 miles north of London. I guess like everyone else, throughout the year, trying to generate a rhythm of engagement around prayer. Often that would involve bringing people out into the kind of church building and gathering people around that. And obviously in our current climate, it was just impossible to be able to do that. And so, like many others, trying to find some creative ways to engage people in prayer. And so we had actually run a week of prayer, and we have 3 weeks of prayer over the course of a year. It's just our rhythm that we work to. We had one in May last year, and then we had another one in September. And on each occasion, we kind of learned something new as we had a bit of a go. And then in September, we started just a 7:15 a.m., 15 minutes daily prayer, committing the day to the Lord, gathering together. And then we repeated that at lunchtime, different people leading, slightly different emphasis and theme. Again, just streaming that 15 minutes at 12 noon. Hoping really actually as people were perhaps on their lunch break, working from home, or even in an office, just able to grab a bit of time and just to pray in the middle of the day. And then in the evening, we wouldn't stream it. We would just gather people on Zoom, and just that slightly different emphasis that maybe appeals to others as well. Different things appeal to different people. Just trying to get a real kind of variety of ways to engage different people of prayer at different times through the day, realizing that actually everybody's rhythm is different. We used to just do an evening only prayer meeting, and families that have got young children trying to get out in an evening, or particularly if they're commuting in and out of London, that was difficult for them to get to. Whereas actually being online just made it far more accessible different times through the day. The experiences of streaming it in the way that we did, and then gathering people on Zoom, it created some really good, meaningful experiences for people throughout the day. And so it wasn't just a kind of one evening thing that was done in one kind of slightly one-dimensional way. Actually, there was multi-dimensions in the way we were engaging people. And we just saw way more people connect and engage, and of course, hopefully then that the prayer life of the church increases as a result of it as well. As a church, we are passionate about our community. We absolutely believe that God has placed us where we are to make a difference in people's lives. And we are committed to that. We are committed to making a difference, to sharing the good news of Jesus and involving ourselves every single day in our community. And, just like your church context, many other church contexts, people going out every day into those spaces and places. And we get to make a difference there. And so as a church, we have been heavily involved in our community, lots of different community engagements. I'll be honest, COVID kind of threw some spanners in the works for us in terms of some of the stuff. We really had to go back to a drawing board and kind of just saying, okay, God, how do we serve our community? How do we do some things here that we've not been able to necessarily do in the same way we did before? And actually over the last couple of months, we've really just seen God open some new doors for us, and we started just to lean on some of the existing relationships that we had within our community. Our kids ordinarily go to school every day, that we have conversations with their teachers. And we just started to change the conversation around the teachers. Yes, we would talk to them about our own children, but we would just begin to start asking them about some of the needs they were facing, how we could support them. We started to lean on some of the teachers that were in our church. We've got a great number of teachers in the church. We started to talk to them and say, what are some of the needs? Because it was very much front headline news, education, exams, what was going on, the pressure on teachers, the pressure on schools. And so we've always tried to use stories as part of our Sunday services, tapping into our community, what's going on. We've spoken to 2 critical care nurses, a married couple who are part of our church, work in the same hospital, and just talking about the pressure in the NHS.
First one is Mrs. Alex Evans, who is the head teacher at Pixmore Primary and Junior School. Good morning, Alex. Great to see you.
Good morning, Carl, and good morning, Danny. Nice to be here.
Thanks so much for joining us this morning. And then secondly, I want to introduce Nat Baker. Many of you will know Nat. Nat is part
morning
of...
all.
Morning, mate. He's part of the church here, member of the church with his family, but also he is a member of the leadership team at Fernhill Secondary School.
At the start of this, we knew we had a struggle with staffing, so we decided we would not open on that first day back. But I think then subsequently Boris then made his announcement, so we've had to kind of get ready, but also to again try and keep everybody together, but also reassure parents that we're not expecting them to do the whole gamut. We just want them just keep things ticking over. All right, we've got all this. We can do 4 hours of learning if you want to, but you don't have to do it all.
So we've done a few things, conversation with nurses, a conversation with teachers. The result of the conversation with teachers actually meant that we have delivered 500 stationery packs into families' homes through schools over the last 7 days, because we heard of a need that came out of that conversation with those teachers, and so that was just an amazing kind of provision and a God thing that happened. But it started off with just asking questions of those that we're already in relationship with, and realizing we're here to make a difference, and we want to hear stories and believe that that's going to create a pathway and a way to be able to do something practical that serves some needs in our community.
Nathan Johnston here in Ireland, right on the border of the north and south, in the middle roughly, pastoring in a church called Elim, which probably most of you have never heard of. Very rural wee town, and I'm married to Kerry, got 2 wee kids, and so life is pretty busy, noisy, and exciting, all rolled in together.
So Nathan, despite life being busy, you have been putting together these live broadcasts on your church Facebook page. Tell us about them and also how the idea started.
Okay, well, I guess it wasn't an idea. It was probably a reaction, if I'm being honest. We were all met with the news last February, and we were sort of forced to try and connect and keep the church connected together. And so it started off with a pre-recorded service. It was okay. It wasn't great. We weren't even sure. We had done no live streaming, no pre-recording prior to this. In fact, I don't think any church in the county here was doing that, and I think it was pretty grim, the first one, and it thankfully had uploaded, and but the pre-record we just felt was a wee bit cold, a wee bit unengaging, and so we very quickly moved on to live streaming. But we also took it out of the church building, because we were like, why are we even trying to hold on to the building right now? And we just took it into our living room here, and tried to make it really personal, tried to make it a wee bit more engaging for you this morning, and you're all so welcome. So this morning, taking us through devotions is going to be Joanne Ho. So she'll be coming on just now in a few minutes to lead us in the morning devotions. It's been quite the journey, as anybody who's listening and is involved in church life will understand. So our rhythm began to be Sunday morning, and what we did with the Sunday morning that really, and just a wee throw us out, just a small thing that actually really advanced our engagement and even the audience numbers, was actually just to put in like a pre-service bit. So we go live now at 10:45 and sort of start the service at 11. And for that 15 minutes, what we do is just we just have fun. I bring my daughter in, she sings a song. After 3, 1, 2, 3.
My God is a great big God.
My God is a great big God. My God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands.
Which is normally quite humorous. She's playing a guitar with not playing any notes, just strumming it. People seem to enjoy it. And then we ask a big question, something really simple, like, a would you rather question. And people start engaging with us. And we throw up comments, and then we'll go live at 11 with all of the service stuff. And then at 9 p.m. we have started doing life stories for the last year. And again, we didn't intend to do that, but a guy who had just got saved a number of months before the lockdown came, he was due to tell his story in the church. He would have been known as one of the hard men of the town, a pretty radical change in life. And we were like, well, let's do it online. And we did it online and it worked so well. We were like, right, let's do another story next Sunday. And it just kept going. At 9 o'clock, you're sort of sitting down for the evening, ready to watch either Match of the Day or something else. And so you're like, right, 9 o'clock, most of the distractions of the day are now gone and people are ready to do that. Then Tuesday nights, we keep the rhythm going of our midweek prayer, and that's at 9 o'clock as well. And now there's about over 200 people generally tuning in for a prayer meeting. And then we do Thursday nights, and again, that's just sort of relaxed, more just having a chat and seeing what the Spirit does.
Where you are based, is it a heavily populated place? Or, give me a set of context, because, the numbers you're saying, 200, 700 devices, they're big numbers, right? How is it attracting those levels of engagement, and what you're doing?
Yeah, well, I don't have any great advice or any degrees in this. We're just trying to ask God to help us to do what He wants us to do, but also asking people who know this stuff to also help us. So there's been some key people in the church and also in other churches has helped us. But to answer your question, yeah, in Brookborough Village, we're in a village of 500 people, probably unknown to a lot of people even in our own country. We're in a county that's quite small, but I actually think that works to our advantage because everybody knows everybody. And so one of the main things we kept those stories going was if we can get local people telling their stories, it has been really interesting because we've had some bigger names come on from outside our county, even outside the country, who have come in, and you're thinking it might be a big night, but actually Joe Bloggs down the road has gathered in a lot more people. And so a few things we have tried to implement from what we have learned is learn your culture and what will actually bring people in to hear the gospel. So we have found using local people is actually better than people outside of your county. However, we do both. We have learned that consistency. So, if you find a rhythm working, keep with it. And people don't want to, it annoys me if I go to the barber shop and some weeks it's open, some weeks it's not. So just keep consistent and your communication. So we find just even simple things like just keep looking at the camera and keep it real. If there's one thing puts me off listening to things, it's people who won't be real and are putting on something. I think people just want you to be real. And so even just I always have a cup of tea beside me and inviting people to get a cup of tea and just keep it really real and really honest. And I think people will engage with that.
I think there's a time and a place and a value to pre-recorded stuff. But I also think that people, they value that sense of being part of something live. But the real strength of that is when it's live and when it has an engagement communication to it. So I think there's one of those golden moments when the person that's communicating in front of the camera says something that then provokes a response from someone in a chat, and then that chat gets back to the person on the camera and the person on the camera relays it back. It feels like there's a connection that's made that can't happen on Netflix. And I think the pursuit of ways of doing that, of creating conversations together, are so important moving forward.
We're all on this journey of trying to move people from just watching something to that point of conversation, aren't we? And I think we're always just trying to find an edge, something that helps us further and that journey for people. And so I guess some of the ways we've done it is actually, in some of the ways that have already been suggested, it's being authentic with what you are doing, creating those regular and meaningful moments for people to be able to join in and to connect with one another. And I think just, being consistent in those is really key. I think somebody else said that consistency is really key in how we go about that and how we do that. Play to our strengths and learn from others along the journey. And I think we've tried to do a bit of that, not necessarily just cherry picking, but actually what's something that's someone's doing actually that could really work in our local context and be something that we use to help others. I think one of the things that we've tried really hard to do, and I guess this feeds into the consistency thing, is having an organized online presence. We don't want it just to be haphazard, throw this out, throw that out. Actually trying to have a kind of an approach that is organized in how we're trying to do it and lead people through that kind of that process as well, and just then trying to get more of the church involved in it. And somebody once said to me recently that actually it's trying to move from promotion to conversation. That really stuck with me. In fact, it struck a real chord with me, and recognizing that actually we've probably been quite guilty of actually just using online to promote. Come to this, get to this, sign up for this, make sure you journey with this. And actually, we really feel like we're on an intentional journey right now of moving from that place of promotion to conversation, trying to develop some new ways and ways that we can do that.
We hope you've enjoyed listening to all those guest speakers there, sharing some great tips, great advice, using digital tools to build, strengthen, disciple our community. I don't know about you, I've got loads of notes there. But that last point there, moving from Netflix to conversation, that be, I guess, an ending question, really. How can we make our church online experiences, our online experiences, not just a passive experience, but very much involving the audience, involving the person engaging with the online experience? Thanks for joining us today, and put all these ideas into action, try out, experiment, and go on the greatest adventure exploring the online world.